Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. And this is a cozy place for you to have, a little 5-minute-a-day Bible study. And this week we're studying Psalm 18. Psalm 18 verses 1 through 10 is our subject this week. So let's open our Bibles up. Remember, this is 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week, studying the Psalms verse by verse. That's what we do here on Daily Dose Radio. So grab your Bible. Let's open it up to Psalm 18 today, verses 5 and 6. Now, I said yesterday, 5 and 6 are a continuation of what we've had in the Psalter, in this psalm so far in 3 and 4. 3 and 4 began the prayer section. He said there in 3, I will call upon the Lord, and I know He's going to save me. And then in verse 4, he begins to describe the problem. Cords of death, floods of destruction, or floods of evil men. And today, 5 and 6 continues that section of problem. So here's the problem. Here, let's read 5 and 6, and we'll discover a little bit more about what David is facing. Verses 5 and 6. The sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress I called upon the Lord, and cried unto my God. He heard my voice out of His temple, and my cry came before Him, even into His ears. Okay, well, that's verses 5 and 6. So, what's the problem? How does the problem continue? He says in verse 4, the sorrows of death, and here in 5, he says it again, the sorrows of hell. So it's just not dying, but it is what happens after. The sorrows of hell compassed me. In 4, the sorrows of death compassed me. You see that? In 5, it's the sorrows of hell compassed me about. This is why we look at this and say, whoa, this is messianic, because we're talking about death and hell compassing him. And we see that not only in the life of Christ, but we also see it in the prayer of Jonah. Do you remember the prayer of Jonah in Jonah chapter 2 when he prayed from the whale's belly? He was compassed about, and it's very descriptive in Jonah chapter 2 when he talks about the seaweeds that had wrapped around his head. But it wasn't just that. He was compassed about by the sorrows of hell itself. And so when Jesus said, no sign's going to be given to this generation except for the sign of the prophet Jonah, because Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights, so the Son of Man will be in the belly of the earth. And when we look at Jonah's prayer and then we compare it to this, we say, wow, this is very much like what Jonah prayed, and tells us something about what maybe Christ was praying there in the garden. The cords of Sheol, the snares of death, they've surrounded him, compassed him. Yeah. So you see how very messianic this is. And then in 6, he says, in my distress, I called upon the Lord. So we have him saying, I'm going to call, and He's going to save, and here's the problem. Gives it the problem to us in 4, 5, the first part of 6, distress. And then he says, I called upon the Lord. So now he's made his prayer. Cried unto my God. He heard my voice out of His temple. So, now this David is saying by faith, God heard my voice out of His temple. My cry came before Him, even unto His ears. Do you have the confidence that when you pray, God hears you? Even when it feels like, and I'm using air quotes, when it feels like He doesn't hear, He hears. He hears you because if you're born again, then you're His child, and He hears every prayer. And you may think, well, I've been praying the same prayer for years. That's okay. God hears it, and He's going to act, but He's going to act when it's the best. He's going to act when it's the best for Him, for you, for His will to be accomplished, not only in your life, but in the life of others, because other people are involved in this prayer that we have here that David's praying. So God's going to act. He's being merciful to the enemies, and He's being merciful to the prayer as well. In my cry came before Him, even into His ears. So, of course, God doesn't have ears like we do. God is a spirit and doesn't have a body like a man, but, he does hear. And so we use the thought of ears to, illustrate that for us. All right, so what happened when he heard? Oh, well, you got to wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to read verses 7 and 8, and we're going to find out. Well, actually, 7 and 8 begin the section that I call the theophany of prayer. So we're going to begin that section, and we're going to see some more of these messianic overtones. What happened when Jesus prayed? What happened when he was compassed about by the cords of death and hell? Well, we'll see that tomorrow here on Daily Dose Radio.